Hello, you incredible and amazing friends. Welcome to our Boss Ladies Summit for November. I was going to say you people are amazing, and we've got Simone Lord with us already. How you doing, Simone Lord?
I am well, thank you, Ed. Good morning. It is a sunny but fresh morning here in Sydney.
I know, and we were just talking a bit before off camera. You are super dedicated. Like I was talking about how I'm slimming down, and you're drinking the green juice. What's this green juice?
I
What's this
am.
all about?
I am. It's a massive credit to Sean Tucker, who we all know and love. He told me all about this amazing concoction that helps your inner health. So I said, okay, Sean, if you recommend it, then I am doing it.
Oh, very, very cool. Now we're just going to dive into it, and our other panelists are on the way, and a lot of them are tied up actually. So it's going to be probably the Simone Lord and Edward's Ear show today. And Simone Lord, we're talking about the legendary topic of starting over today, and we've all done it in different forms. And I was going to say it's absolutely amazing. And just firstly, if you just tuned into our live, please smash that like, sharing, comment, say hello, and we'll certainly interact. But Simone Lord, I want to bounce back to you. I want to ask you on that one. Starting over, when's a big time that you've really started over in life that's made you really question everything in your own reality?
Oh gosh, multiple times to be honest. And I think that you should start over many, many times because your whole life and everything that you do is an evolution of who you are as a person and discovering that. Some really pivotal ones for me would be when I went from my corporate career into stepping out into the health and fitness world from accounting. So that was like a major start over and a very, very big pivot. But I think people wouldn't really associate this in the same way. But I think when you become a mother, that's very much about starting over again because you're rediscovering who you are as a woman and as a person. And yeah, everything changes.
It's funny you bring this up. I was having this because I hang out with a lot of mothers these days, right? I do a lot of the school kids drop off. So I hang out for a dad. I hang out with a lot of mothers, right? I'm usually surrounded by mothers, and I'm like the only guy, right? And whoever hit that like, share, comment, love you heaps. StreamYard won't tell me. That's funny, actually. I was actually been talking to a lot of cool mothers, including wonderful Lassie, about identity, and it's how the moment you get called a mother, you instantly start over. It's like society has rebranded you of a new tag. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that one as I buzz in Georgina Orchard?
Yeah.
Oh my
I think
God,
it's
it's
very
Georgina.
true. Good
We love
morning.
you, Georgina. Sorry, continue, Simone. We love you, Georgina.
Yeah, I think it's very true. And I definitely felt like I went through that as well. And not just the first time I became a mother, but the second and the third time as well. All of a sudden, I'd worked very hard to have my corporate career. And all of a sudden, I was supposed to just be this mum now. And everything was supposed to be about that. It was a transition, it was a big change in your life. So, yeah, that definitely is a start over point.
Oh, totally. And I just want to say a big hello to our fans. We've got John Telson, we love you. We've got Jane Love, we love you. We love Jane Love, we do. We've got Faisy with us. If you just come in, smash that like, share, and comment. And we've had rockstar Georgina Orchard rolling in. Georgina, we were talking about starting over. And I just want to ask you, Georgina, how are you today and what's happening in your legendary world?
In my legendary world, I've got a visitor this weekend, which is lovely. I've everything's good this weekend. Feeling much better after last week, but yeah, everything is going really well.
I love it. Now, I was just going to ask you as well. We just dived into this with Simone Lord. We're talking about starting over, as you know, and Simone, we were talking about how obviously I don't know what motherhood's like, but when you become a mum, in a way, society rebrands you and you become this new character. Georgina, I want to ask you about a time in your life where you had to start over and it really threw you for a six. Tell us about it and what some of your thoughts are.
I guess motherhood was one of those things too, but I think when you said that, it drew me back to 7 years ago. Oh, nearly 8 years ago now, I think. Beginning of 2015, we were preparing to take my daughter away for a pony camp, and she wanted to take a horse. And we'd been away for a few weeks. The horse was a little bit frisky, and he was a big guy. He was 16'3", with great big clodhoppers, and he wasn't the easiest of horses, but I was helping her get on, and I saw something around behind him, and I've been around horses all my life, and kind of, you intrinsically know how far to stand next to them, all that sort of stuff. And I was just looking at all the kind of holes in the arena, and I was thinking, oh, that's a little bit dangerous. Anyway, I went back. I started to walk back around, and there was a stallion in the next door paddock, and he went off, and then our horse got frightened by me, and instead of he kicked out, but he bucked and kicked out. So all I saw was these massive hooves coming towards me, and I ended up with a broken pelvis. And yeah, that I'd never broken a bone in my whole entire life, and it was kind of like, and I just felt at that moment I could feel all the ligaments and the tendons and everything break away, and my knees went sore and all that sort of stuff, and I was just in shock, just standing there. But I guess the next 2 weeks were me sort of starting over again, because I was in a marriage that was a little bit toxic, and I look back at that and I understand the process of it was the universe waking me up, but it was a big wake up call, because I felt like I wanted to die in those next 2 weeks. I was bringing up everything through it. I had a nasogastric tube to stop me vomiting, but I was still bringing it up, and I had drips in my arm. I couldn't eat. Nothing was working. I had bruising in the bowel, and and I didn't want to walk. I was on endone, and just like everything, the whole world was just spinning, and I had no confidence. Had my confidence just completely drained. So luckily for me, I had a physio that wanted to get me to walk, and she was determined. She said, we're going to walk up those stairs in the hospital. So she'd take me to the stairwell, and she'd say, right, we're going to walk up there. And I'd be like, no, I'm not getting on crutches. No, I can't do it. She's like, right, we're going to change your medication. We're going to do this. And if it wasn't for her, I don't know where I'd be. But it was a massive kind of start over point in my life, because then I had to sort of work out whether I wanted to stay in that marriage, and learning to walk again, and all the intensive physio over the next 18 months. It was I think that was probably the start of my next personal development journey.
Wow, that's amazing, Georgina. A big round of applause to Georgina for that one. We're going to come back to it. Simone, I want you to react to Georgina's story. What an amazing and tragic event. Obviously, Georgina won, but what a tragic adventure. Simone, what are your reactions to that one?
It quite often is. When you hear of very big start over things or very big transitions in people's life, it often comes from a traumatic event, whether it's happened directly to them or someone in their inner circle. And that just creates this mass of change within it. So it's interesting, actually. That's probably a whole nother topic on itself, talking about how the trauma affects us in such ways that it invokes these responses to want to have significant change, to do something different in our lives.
Yeah, fascinating. And I was gonna ask you as well, Simone Lord, on the topic, right? And I want to bounce back to motherhood. We're going to come back to Georgina, because that's amazing. The whole, when your identity changes, be it you have a big injury, you get divorced, you have children. It's, in a way, as I was saying before, in a way, it's kind of like society rebrands you. The moment you say, I'm divorced, I'm a mother, I'm single, in a way, it creates an expectation. And in a way, we're all starting over. I want to ask you about the motherhood. Go back to that one, Simone Lord. When you was this big high-flying corporate, then all of a sudden you're a mother, right? What was that transition like, and how'd you start over in that role? And what are your reactions to society just instantly rebranding you into a different character?
Yeah, I think one of the pivotal things for me was I knew that I was very good at my job and I was very well respected inside of the organization. However, that was the first moment that I really realized that everyone is replaceable, and that your job can be done without you. And that's very different to being a mother, because no one is you. No one will mother like you. You are just so uniquely the mother of your children. So when it comes to your work life, you can be replaced and things go on without you. However, as a mother, it's not quite the same. The job gets done, but no one will ever do it the way that your mum did it.
Wow. Oh, incredible. And Georgina, I want to bounce back to you again. Incredible story. I was going to say, I'd love to get your reactions to Simone Lord and motherhood. Then we're going to come back to your dark, tragic story. What are your motherhood thoughts on the whole starting over, Georgina?
Well, I have two girls, and it was a huge adjustment. I was in corporate as well, and I saw people who were very valuable in their organizations. Like I worked for Oracle for a while, and there was a lady there that was very valuable. And then she went off and had children, and when she came back, she wasn't treated the same way. So there was almost like they'd given her a different hat. But I felt like that too when I had children. So it's it's almost like, I think there's a different societal expectation. And I believe that needs to change though, because there's a lot of value. As I've been trained, as I did my CPA back in, long time ago, 92 or something. And one of the things that happens when women leave the workforce, there's a lot of training that goes into women that gets lost. But yeah, it is a massive change. It's definitely like a new hat gets put on and a different expectation of you. It's almost, I don't know. I don't know whether it's my perception, but I felt lesser.
I think everyone. I don't think it's your perception. I think it's a tragic reality. And I've seen it before. It's sort of like you have a high-performing lady in the workplace, kicking butt, goes off and has children or whatever, and all of a sudden, in a way, people expect less of them. It's like, well, you're a mom now with kids. It's different, but they don't have that expectation of a man, and obviously that's the issue that we're bringing up. Like, if anything, if you're a man, well, you got kids, it doesn't make any difference. But if you're a woman, you got to mother those kids, and we can't expect you to work more than 6 hours a day and all that sort of thing. I've actually seen that sort of, I would say, sexist junk. Simone Lord, what are your reactions to this? Because I bet you've been painted with the motherhood brush of sexism too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's strange that people feel this way. And for those that follow me on LinkedIn and my socials will know that not only do I have my own business, but I work with Christian Lavolsi as well. And he loves working with women and particularly mothers, because the drive that they have and the motivation that they have to do what they have to do, most people, especially mothers, and I am sort of categorizing this, but work so well in a part-time capacity because they want to have both a career and both have that mothering role and are striving for that balance. So quite often they are more valuable people in our workforce than sometimes full-time employees. So it's very interesting that we get tarnished with this brush when, with in effect, a lot of part-time mums can do a full-time role because they're quite good at focusing their time and their energy into what they need to do at specific times. And I think I demonstrate that really well with how much I balance on a daily basis of having 3 kids under 10, a shift working husband. I run my own business. I also work full-time, and I'm an ambassador for mental health organizations. I jump in Edwards community quite a lot, because I know how to balance my time and I can be quite specific in when I need to change my roles.
Oh, brilliant. Now, I'm just going to have a quick intermission, react to our fans. If you were listening now, smash that like, sharing, comment, connect with amazing Simone Lord and Georgina Orchard, absolute winners. We've got Amy, hello. We got Lambie, we got John, we got Faisy, we got Bashir. We've got the whole gang. So if you just come in, smash that like, sharing, comment, and thank you for joining our Boss Lady Summit. And our Boss Lady panel is the legendary Simone Lord and Georgina Orchard today, so make sure you connect with them. The other Boss Ladies all got tied up, so there you go. It's their loss, because that means Georgina and Simone are going to get way more love, because we love them and they're amazing, so make sure you connect with them. Now, I find that all fascinating, actually, in that efficiency and that type of thing, right? And I remember a lot of people, in a way, used to try and put me down and say, well, Ed, when you get married and you have kids, you're just not going to be as business driven. You're not going to have as much time to work on your business. And I remember a few toxic people sort of trying to cast that spell on me, so to speak. But then it's sort of like, wow, I actually do more work in a morning now than most people do in 2 days. And I'm certainly way more efficient than what I was a year ago. And to me, again, bring it back to the whole starting over thing. I find every time you start over, you tend to become a lot more sharper and powerful. And Georgina, I'd love to hear your reactions on those thoughts and Simone's legendary thinking.
Yeah. I probably need a recap on that one, Ed. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah, but I can comment on what you were just saying, that there is a lot of toxicity out there. But I think when we do restart, we do have a lot of because you've got all that past knowledge, and when you know better, you can do better. So, and I think you have the ability to reflect on what you've done each time that you've started over, and so you gain more wisdom, I believe.
Oh, brilliant. I want to ask you as well, Georgina, and I know this is slightly off topic, but it is relevant, so I'll bring up the whole 4-day work week. I know we're talking about starting over, but when Simone Lord was talking about basically, I suppose, productivity and part-time mums in the workforce and that sort of thing, right? I've seen it actually. I've seen a part-time mum who's, let's say, working, I don't know, 22 or 30 hours a week, do more than a lot of full-time workers. Why do you think that is, Georgina? Because I see it all the time. I see part-time mothers outperforming, full-time workers all the time. What do you think of that one, Georgina?
Is it the old notion of give a busy person something else to do, and that you just have to be more efficient in what you're doing? I don't know. I thought maybe I'd slowed down as I got older, but I'm actually packing in more stuff because I'm more motivated and I'm more like we want to learn. I think women tend to be big multitaskers as well. So we feel like we can do more, perhaps. But I have seen people, I did design about 10 years ago, and there was one lady, and she would be so productive during the day. She would lay the whole kitchen table out with all her designs and stuff, and then the kids would come home at 3 and she'd have afternoon tea. She was just very efficient at changing over. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why we become like that, but I think it's just part of our nature as to the nurturer. It's the nurturer, and also we have that. What would you say? It's part of really connecting with our feminine and our masculine, because we're used to doing, right? And if we're in a corporate, we're very kind of in our masculine doing. And then you have the other side of the children, where you're kind of in your nurturer role and you're feminine, and you're probably more in touch with it. So you can roll with it a lot better.
Yeah, I love it. Well said, Georgina. I love your unpack. Simone Lord, what are your thoughts and reactions, my very driven friend?
Yeah, I love what Georgina just said. And I think it's also really important to know who's surrounding you. Who are the people that are supporting you? Because it doesn't just come from you. Change is something that's inspired from within you. But when you're looking to change and you're wanting to really do that, you do need the support from people around you, whether that's your partner, whether it's your children if they're a little bit older, close friends and family. It is a whole perspective of change. I recall when my husband decided to change careers, when he was a mechanic before he entered the police force. And that was a tricky time to manage that as well. When you go into big change like that, that was time away. We'd literally just gotten married, and then he went off to the academy and he was posted away for 7 months. So for me, his change impacted my life because that was so different for us to manage. So it is a flow-on effect for those who are around you to support the change as well.
So that would have been incredible. So you're dating this mechanic, your fiance this mechanic. Then he goes off and gets married, and he goes, "Oh, I love you, Simone. I'm off to become a soldier now, basically." And then he disappears, and of course that experience would totally change him. So all of a sudden, you're now married to this cop, and it's like, where did you come from? And like 7 months later, this big buff soldier walks back in the door saying, "I'm back, honey," and you're like, "Who are you again?" It must have been a bit of that reaction. You must have been a different character than you originally got engaged to.
Yeah, in some ways, yeah. And it's interesting because the change, it impacts both of you in your relationship. So fortunately for us, he got to come home on weekends because we didn't live too far away from the training academy. But yeah, everything changes when you go through profound change. Your language, your behavior, your ethics, depending on what you're doing, especially when you're going into a role like that, there's so many new things to learn. Many weekends were spent helping him study for exams and learning law and all the things he had to learn verbatim. So it was an interesting time. But again, so it's the change, someone who's having that significant change and the rollover effect to how you either go along with that change and inspire them to change, or sometimes it's a disconnection and you're not feeling aligned with that person at anymore, because not all change is positive change either.
Well, now you've just crossed the Rubicon. Then I've been waiting for that.
I'm going to go there anyway. You always
just crossed the Rubicon. I was waiting for one of you to cross the Rubicon. So, as you know, I love steering boss ladies in a somewhat more darker direction. As you know, if it's all happy clappy, I just get bored. It's like, oh, can we talk about like death, destruction, and divorce? Okay, so here we are.
So segue. Let's go dark side.
Okay, so we're gonna go. I should change my background to like flames and stuff, right? And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, right, here we are. So, but it's interesting now. Now, again, let's talk about the elephant in the room. So, as you know, the majority of our clients are women. And so, again, I work with women all the time. About 70, 80% of our clients are women, which is awesome. And interestingly, one of the biggest disruption I see women have to their lives is, divorce, separation, relationships ending. That's, I would say, out of 80% of the ways I end up supporting women is actually through often separation, right? Big problem, obviously, right? Now, just in reacting to that, right, I just want to ask, we'll bounce over to Georgina here. Separation, divorce, breaking up, that is an instant starting over, whether you like it or not. And I find often women get the sharper end of the stick, and I think everyone would agree with me on that one. I found in separation, men always seem to be able to move on more easily, right? Not saying it's true, that's just an impression. I want to hear your reactions, Georgina. Are we right, wrong? I want to talk about the dark side of starting over with separation, divorce, and all that.
I'm not sure that, I think it's just a misnomer that we think that men can start over more easily. I've just gone through another breakup where I left, and the fellow isn't coping that well. But yeah, I believe that I think the separation is quite difficult really for everybody, no matter whether you're the one initiating it or you're the one on the receiving end. I think there's the period of adjustment of not having that person in your life. But yeah, but the decision, and I think with women, the decision comes a lot earlier than just that kind of moment or that time when there's actual that separation. But the period of getting ready for it for women it can be up to 5 years earlier, or quite a while. There's a lot of planning, because they go through a lot of, well, how am I going to cope with this? I know when I divorced my ex-husband, was like there was a lot of conflict in your mind because you've got children, you've got a relationship, and then there's all this expectation around you from people around you and who's going to support you, that sort of stuff. And a lot of women don't leave for that reason, because they don't feel like they will be supported. They stay in a lot of time toxic relationships or relationships that aren't serving them because they feel like they won't be able to cope on the other side. What is on the other side? Mm-hmm. And I remember standing out on the front lawn when I was kind of trying to make that decision, and it felt like I was going to jump off a cliff in order to do that, make that change. I guess once I decided, it was I felt differently. I kind of felt more empowered. But yeah, there's that. There's different components to separation, I believe.
Wow, just incredible. Just a quick reaction. We've got our friend Faisy Greaves watching. If you all give a big wave to Faisy. Faisy is one of our wonderful friends, and a few great reactions as well. The biggest change as a woman is when you become a mum, you lose your identity and now have a role and responsibility of a little person. Fascinating insight. A bit of trivia, Faisy is while she looks quite young, she is an older lady, so she's got great experiences. She's got grandchildren. Faisy also says the second change is when you're in a toxic relationship. Starting over can be overwhelming, and Faisy seconds all that. And we love you, Faisy. If you just tuned in, smash that like, share, and comment. Please connect with amazing Simone Lord and Georgina Orchard, who are the stars of our panel today, and we love them dearly. And interesting, and just as a recap, we were just talking to Georgina about separation. We crossed the Rubicon into the darker side of starting over. And I got to say, incredible insights, Georgina. I want to bounce back to Simone Lord, right? Simone, I mean, obviously, you're happily married with 3 kids to a very sexy cop who's got a gun, right? He's got a gun, got a gun. And he's like buff and he's like got a badge. I'm just making shit up now. But I just want to ask you, obviously, it's not with your husband, but the darker side of separation, be it yourself or your clients, I want to talk about the darker side of separation. And please react to what Georgina says and some thoughts that you have on that one.
Yeah, I want to take a different spin on this actually and talk about it from the perspective of change from your friendships. So I'm very fortunate that I have a wonderful relationship with my husband. I haven't really been through a big separation. We've been together since we're 19. So not really had a lot of different relationships through our lifetime or this lifetime. But from a friend perspective, so we have quite a few of our close friends that have separated now. It's very awkward when you were friends with the female, my husband was friends with the male, and now that they've separated, the change that's come within our friendship dynamics, whether you can only be friends with one person, or if you're talking to this person, then you can't talk to the other one. So we've had a really big rollover of friends. Like our friend circles have changed, and we're feeling like we have to start over because the dynamics of the friendship have really changed or ended, which is it's an interesting time to go through that.
I remember actually when we first met, and we were just getting to know each other. This is maybe a year or two ago. You were talking about how that actually happened to you, and basically your whole friendship circle got schismed in two, right? And basically, doesn't matter what you do, pick one faction, the other faction, or down the middle, you're going to lose friends and get shredded. And I can imagine the stress of that. And it's funny how when you see a lot of intense relationships separate, how they try and split their friend base. I've seen that so many times, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what you do, whether you go left, right, or down the middle, you're going to lose people. And I just want to bounce out of Georgina on that one, right? The darker side of separation starting over, the whole friendship thing. What are some of your reactions to that one, Georgina?
I think too, your friends don't know who to align with. They think they have to take sides, which is really, there is a darker side to that. I think really you've got to support both, but people feel like they're more aligned with one side or the other. Or they might just stay away altogether because they don't want to deal with the emotion around it. Because that's another discussion, I think. Yeah. But it's really interesting. But as you go through life, you do go through different phases of your own life, and I believe that as you do that, you attract different people. When you're a mother and you're going through all that thing with when your babies are small, you might have a mother's group, and then everyone's kind of needs become different. So some of them will stick around and other ones will leave. And then you go through primary school and you'll have you'll try and make friends with the child's inner circle, the parents in that. And, that may or may not work. And then you might go through sporting and all that sort of stuff. I went through a stage where I was running sporting clubs. And so I knew a lot of people and had a different friendship circle. And then as that's phased off and everyone's gone their separate different ways, some of those relationships stay and some of them sort of fade. And then, you go back into work or you go back into networking, and then there's a different that you change your sort of friendship circle, but there are people that will stay there as core. And I think really, I remember hearing John Farman once say, I've only got 5 close friends that I can call on. And I thought that was amazing as someone who was like him. But then I've reflected on that myself, and I've gone, well, there is really 5 close friends that keep in contact, and they're really important friends. They're there all the time, and you might not necessarily get in contact all the time, but they reach out and make sure that you're okay, that sort of stuff, and you do the same to them. So it's an interesting life like that, especially with motherhood is very different because you will and it happens both ways. It's not just how people perceive you, but you'll also perceive how well people integrate within your environment, within your the way that you want to operate, and it's those friends that you want within that circle.
Yeah, now fascinating. And this reminds me of a very quick story in my life. So what happened was after my military government days, I had a few very successful years working as a corporate, but my PTSD caught up with me, and I got really sick. Ended up, not being able to work, and was really bad. I wound up a homeless veteran. I had some pretty dark times then. The interesting part, though, was the moment I sort of lost, and it was an interesting lesson. The moment I lost my status, I had quite a senior role. The moment I lost my status in society, the amount of people that just don't call you or cut you loose immediately. And I found I can understand John Farnham's reaction, even though he's a multi-millionaire superstar and all that. When the chips are down, a lot of people totally ditch you. And Simone, continuing the dark discussion, which, as you know, I thrive on. When people ditch you, when you're starting to be a partner or friends ditch you and you're starting over, what do you think of that, Simone Lord?
Well, I have another angle that I'm going to talk about on this one, and this is family. So for me, and it's not specifically around ditching people, but it's me putting in boundaries with some family members. So I guess I've invoked the change, and that can be quite interesting when I've put in the boundary to say I'm no longer attending family events and things like that. The change and the start over process of things like Christmas and different events, that can be really, really interesting. Sorry, obviously my little people are here and my husband's at work today. And
he looks like a little clone of your husband. I can imagine him in the blue outfit already, pulling people over.
They are all little clones of my husband. None of them look like me.
No, it's like they're not actually your kids. They're more like genetic duplicates of your husband. There you go.
Yeah, so the change for me comes through family events and what that looks like now when Christmas isn't the same because we're starting again. We're no longer attending those big family events and all of that. So it is a lot of change.
So imagine that's quite stressful because I've had a similar experience where I had a falling out with my dad, and I remember that no Christmas with dad anymore. And I find it's funny, because the other interesting one I want to throw in there is that when you have, let's say, a separation, or even if you move to a different place, right? What then happens is that you may not have anyone to celebrate Christmas anymore, right? You might have a birthday on your own. And just a quick one, I just want to jump in with our fans. We've got my old friend, Mr. M. Dongo, with us. We love you. He's actually tuning in from Facebook, even though we're LinkedIn people. We've got Kemi Adekumbi. We love you. And for those, Mr. M. Dongo's an old friend of mine. And Kemi Adekumbi, she is an amazing lady. She's my favorite non-sexist person I ever met. And that's an inside joke that a few of you will get. So Kemi is my favorite, most non-sexist person on the planet. There you go. She's completely non-sexist. Yeah, it's interesting actually, because in reflecting to that is that when you go through, be it you move for a job or separation, whatever, it doesn't just, you actually lose that relationship, because if you've been, let's say, having Christmas with a certain person or a certain family, well, guess what? You're spending Christmas alone. If you happen to move to a new place and you don't know anyone until your birthday 2 weeks later, you're probably celebrating a birthday alone. And it's funny, it brings up that whole issue of loneliness, because I find that often with big change, loneliness can be a huge factor on that. And great reaction here from Faisy. And great. And again, all connect with Faisy, one of our wonderful friends. When I became a single mum, I lost all my married friends. Wow. Let that sink in. That's pretty bad. When I became a single mum, I lost all my married friends. They all felt that I may now be going for their husbands. Okay. Wow. Which was sad. And yes, I had to start over with making new friends, both married and single. Wow, that's pretty dark, Faisy. Georgina, let's react to Faisy's comment. Georgina, what are your reactions to Faisy's very, very, very dark and intense comment, which is tragic? What do you think, Georgina?
I wonder if it's a natural reaction when there's a single woman in the midst. I did go through that at the start, I think, because people thought that I was just, on the dating scene and they were worried. I don't understand it really, but I do think there is, and I really want to address it within women, because women can support women. And rather than not supporting because you kind of think it's really their married friend's perception. It's nothing about you. But I really think that there is a lack of support for women supporting women, really a lack of, and I saw it in the workplace as well. And it's almost like there's a secret or underlying competition there for some reason that we have. I don't know, or whether is it a lack of trust for their own husbands, or what is that? Yeah, I'm sorry that you went through all that stuff when you started over, Edward. I thought that, I think that it is people's perceptions, and I understand, and I see a lot of people get PTSD when they come out of the army and things like that, and people don't cope with people. I think it's people not being able to cope with people's emotions. So yeah, I don't know if it's a lack of respect for where they've been or where they are, or maybe that they that the influence is not there, but really I think it's basically down to not coping with people's emotions. But going back to that, yeah, I do think is there like an intrinsic underlying, people feel like they then competing? Is it like the job that because we went through a phase in society where women were being promoted, but only certain women. So it was women against women in order to get that job. Is it something underlying that type of behavior on that sort of underlying competition sort of feel? I'm not sure why it happens, but maybe it's just a lack of trust in themselves or a lack of trust in their husbands. Who knows?
Wow, no, it's fascinating, and it's funny. Just another cat. I want to I can probably say this now because the world's now becoming less politically correct, so I can now say this. But I did a poll on LinkedIn about a year ago, and the poll got like hundreds of thousands of views. And I was very surprised the poll didn't get pulled, right? But I did a poll. So because again, the majority of our clients are women, and we love them dearly. And interestingly, a lot of them said to me, Ed, most of the attacks against me come from other women, not men. So, there's women telling me this. And I'm like, really? Okay, let's do a poll on this. And so I did a poll on LinkedIn saying, I can't remember the exact wording, but I basically asked, for women, where do most of your sexist attacks come from? Other men or other women? And 95% plus said other women. So basically, not the super ultra, almost every woman said, yep, other women are the first ones to put me down. I actually spoke to some of them, and it's like, they said, yeah, in the workplace, for example, not once ever has a man ever said anything negative to me because I'm a woman, but other women have. So they're interesting cat amongst the pigeons. So Georgina, I love your detailed unpacks. Now, Simone Lord, I want to bounce back to you with that. Oh, there he is. We got a very sexy cop to be with Simone Lord. So we'll give Simone Lord a moment to react to that. And there she goes. Love it.
Devices. It's the savior for many, many moments.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting, and to put another little spin on it, in my opinion, it often comes down to people not dealing with their own emotional state, and they're projecting that on other people to look as if they're pulling them down or criticizing them, but often it's an internal reflection of where you are as a person. So even though you feel like it's a personal attack, it's often that own person not feeling comfortable within themselves. And that comes to the corporate sort of positioning, or also in that relationship thing, because people don't like to feel uncomfortable or awkward. So they withdraw instead of pursuing forward into that and saying, hey, how do we make this friendship work now that you guys are separated? It's easier just not to talk to that person at all.
Yeah.
And those types of things. So in my experience, you can tell the people that are interested in working on their own self and forging forward through change, which then allows growth and abundance into your life in many, many ways. And people that go, you know what, that's a little bit uncomfortable. I don't like that. I'm just going to stay back here. And that's okay. It's everyone's personal choice.
Wow. And it's interesting in reacting again to Faisey's comment as well. There's a lot in that one comment that Faisey left. You could run probably 3 separate Boss Lady summits on just Faisey's comment, right? And the other bit and I've seen this happen a lot, and this is the bit that sort of piqued my interest, is that when I became a single mom, lost all my married friends, seen it. This is a bit that I find fascinating, which I've seen many times. It's a bit I find fascinating. They all felt that I may now be going for their husbands, which is sad. And I've seen that. So again, you have poor lady, whatever reason, her fault, whatever fault, taking fault out of it, but she ends up getting divorced, right? And then a lot of other married women will then see that ex-married woman as a potential predator of their husbands, right? Seen it before. What are your reactions to that point, Simone? And where do you think that feeling comes from? Is that more of that projection, like, oh, I'm not sure about my husband, and therefore this lady will pick him up? What are your thoughts on that one, Simone? There's a lot of deep psychology.
I think it's got nothing to do with that single person, that newly single person at all. That's 100% a reflection of your own relationship. And if you don't have trust, or if you're feeling discomfort into that, you need to walk straight into that and confront it. Why? Because it doesn't matter what friend is single, or is it a woman walking down the street that's very attractive and your husband looks, and all of a sudden you're feeling uncomfortable that he's going to run out the door to someone else. There's a whole boss lady that you can talk about. But I would take it back to yourself. It's really got nothing to do with that other person. It's merely a projection of your own inner emotional things that you have not dealt with.
I remember a real funny one. I'm talking like, I used to be, believe it or not, I used to be in my 20s. Believe it or not. No, everyone thinks I'm lying, but I used to be in my 20s, right? Don't ask me when. It was a very long time ago, right? Anyway, and I remember, I had a girlfriend and her sister, right? And I did not get along at all with her sister. So I just stayed well away from her sister and stayed polite to her, and just have a girlfriend as you do, right? And I remember, I don't know what it was, but the sister then got it into her head that I was somehow attracted to her, right? And it's like, I have never, ever spoken to the sister. Basically, I don't even know who this woman is, other than seeing her and exchanging a few pleasantries. I don't even know who she is. And she got it into her head that I was somehow interested in her, and I was using my girlfriend as a stepping stone to get to the sister. Anyway, crazy. Anyway, 15 years later, I actually reconnected with this old girlfriend, and very pleasant. Like, she's married, got kids and all that, and no hard feelings at all. Like, very pleasant. We actually bumped into each other on the street. I said, "Oh my God," her name's Rachel. No one knows who she is. Go, "Rachel, so good seeing you." And, "Oh my God, how you doing, Ed?" And it's like, "Yeah, I'm actually here with my husband. I'm just going for a walk. Got 2 kids." "Oh, congratulations, Rachel. Great, all worked out for you." And then she goes, and then I brought up as a funny note, "Okay, how's your sister going? Ha ha." And she goes, "Interesting, right? This sister went off and got married, and then got really jealous of her husband's friend at work, and ended up walking out on her husband, then try to get back with her husband, but the husband will never bar of it." And I thought, isn't that fascinating? So what this evil sister projected onto me, she went off and did later in life. So it's so true. I guess there was a program in the sister's head that she was running on everyone. What do you think of that, Simone? I don't know. That's an interesting story.
Yeah, it happens. And that is all about the self-talk and things that we have going on in our own mind. And if you replay something enough, I believe you do manifest that into reality of what happens in the real world. So I think that's a example of that story on how if you believe something enough, you will actually bring it into your life, and that's negative or positive or however you perceive it.
Oh, I love it, love it. Georgina, there's about 58 things you can react to here. What are some of your thoughts and reactions to all the crazy stuff we're talking about, Georgina?
Yeah, it's definitely their own insecurities. People like to create fantasy world about different things as well. They get into their heads and kind of think, they don't have anything. So, or it also depends who they're hanging around too, what sort of, or not. I think as I go deeper into personal development and understand more about relationships and rapport and it's not about me, it's about other people, really. So if you're in your own head and in fantasy land, you're really thinking about yourself. It's really not it's not about you. It's not about us. It's about how, the other people's reactions are really about them and what they're projecting. Definitely, I agree with Simone. I think that's and your story was very funny, but yeah, there's certain people that do have that fantasy world going on, and it's what they believe, and it's definitely what you focus on becomes your reality on different levels. Whether you believe it and store that away, or whether that's something, the belief that's always in your reality going on. Definitely a lot in here today, Edward.
There we go. We've got all these different arcs for next time. There we go. It's crazy. So we're coming towards the end of the Boss Lady Summit. We've got about 5-10 minutes left. If you're here, please like, sharing, comment. Make sure you connect with amazing Simone Lord and Georgina Orchard. In fact, what we'll do is before we do the wrap, we'll do a quick commercial plug for you legendary winners. Simone Lord, please I'll sell you the room for you. Simone Lord's an amazing coach, mentor, and educator. Works with Christian Lavelsi. Simone Lord, do you want to do a quick commercial plug for yourself before we do the wrap?
Yes, sure. I'd love to. Thank you, Ed. Thank you for the introduction. I am Simone Lord. I'm a mum of 3 young children, wife to a shift working husband. I have my own business and I work with Christian Lavelsi as well. So a lot on my plate and I love everything that I do. I would love to just share quickly that we have a marketing event coming up in Sydney on the 10th of December. Very excited that Christian Lavelsi and the whole business growth mindset team are coming to Sydney. I've convinced them to come on my home turf for a change. So I'm not going to Adelaide. They are coming to us, which is awesome. We have a full day workshop event for marketing for growth. So we have some awesome friends joining us as well. Adrian Lee will be presenting and talking to everyone about LinkedIn and how to maximize their profiles. The amount of friends that I have on Facebook that don't have LinkedIn yet, there's a lot of people are still not maximizing the LinkedIn platform. So if anyone is interested in coming along, I do have just a few VIP tickets left. So DM me, get in touch with me personally if you want a unique code to come along to our event, which gives you almost 70% off. So a great deal. Thanks, Ed.
Simone, we love you. Round of applause. Now, Georgina and I met about 3-6 months ago, and interestingly, one of our Georgina and I live probably a 7-minute drive from each other, but it was one of our friends from Canada who introduced us. So there you go. It's funny how the new world works. And Georgina Orchard, as you can tell, she's a very deep thinker, always considers the underlying surface and things about things. That's what I love about Georgina. Very deep, intense thinker that doesn't react to the surface, always looking deep below the surface. Amazing leadership coach, mentor, and educator. Georgina, please plug yourself to a wonderful audience because we love you and appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Edward. I appreciate this opportunity to be part of the Boss Lady Summit. I am Georgina Orchard. I'm a business mentor, consultant, and coach, and I look at the strategy and analytics. I'm women supporting women. I really would like to be part of people who are wanting to make an impact in the world and support their growth. I think there's a lot of people out there that really don't understand would like to understand what it is to be a business owner. So I have a program, I'm just changing the name of it at the moment. It was called the Directed Decision Maker, and we're about to do a little bit of a rebrand in order to make it a little bit more feminine. But we're, it's about sort of understanding all the different concepts within a business and how to become that CEO of your own business and make those decisions on an easy, efficient, and then outsource. Get the resources that you need in order to outsource a lot of work or automate what you can do, so that so you can be that mum, you can be that grandmother, or you can be that very efficient sort of person. So then, because it's, business is not just about, life is not just about business.
Mm-hmm.
There's an element of, within your business wheel, there's an element of life. And within your life wheel, there's an element of business. So it's embracing that there's a holistic sort of level that you need to perceive and conceive and live, because we're not just here to do business. We're also here to live. It's to create financial freedom. It's to create freedom in your life. And we have so many hats to wear as women. So can we unpack all those hats and just be able to live passionately? And we want to be able to do so much. So it's being able to do that, being able to wear all those hats if we want to wear those hats, and have a successful business as well.
Oh, brilliant, Georgina. Love it. So we're coming towards the end. So now we're up to the closing monologues. And the closing monologues is we'll give Simone Lord, then Georgina, a moment just to give a monologue on their thoughts. And what I want to set the monologue for this one is to anyone listening who's starting over, right? Be it, you've gone through a separation, something has gone badly in your life, something has gone well, right? I'd love to hear what your thoughts and reactions are. What is a monologue to you amazing winners someone who's lost their way in life, someone who needs to start again? What are your thoughts and suggestions for those people to really take off? Simone Lord, monologue to you.
I would really enforce that change and starting over is not negative or positive. I would not think of it as a right or a wrong situation. I would say that it is what it is. And it is all about mindset and how you perceive the change. What you're going through, I truly believe, is always for a reason. And the darkest of times provides you with grit, determination. It shapes who you are in your personality. And although it's difficult, I think if you remind yourself that there's a bigger reason for this and there's something better that will come out the other side, then you're more accepting of the change and starting over. It's not always going to be easy, but when you feel that there's a higher purpose and a reason for it, then it helps you get through that period of time and know that it is always greener on the other side. It may not be overnight. It may be a transition process, but it's always worth it in the end.
Oh, totally amazing and absolutely love it. Simone Lord, round of applause, amazing. And Georgina, I'd love to get your closing monologue to anyone who's listening that is starting over. What do you say to them in your closing monologue, Georgina?
On reflection, because I've gone through a lot of change in my life, I agree with Simone that there's a higher reason, a higher purpose that you're going through that change. And it's just to embrace it and allow the change to happen, because, there will be something good on the other side. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but you'll grow as a person as you go through that change. The idea is then to help that change happen is allowing your thoughts to say that life is happening for you rather than to you. And that in itself is a mindset that you need to adopt, that things that what can you appreciate about life? What can I be grateful for, rather than focusing on the negative of the situation? Try and see what the positives are within that, and designing it. So if you need some help, get some help to help you nut out or brainstorm what your life what you'd like life to look like. Sometimes it helps to go back and work out, go back to you as a child, and find where the happy moments were, and sort of say, well, what would that young girl want? What did she want going forward? What was she like? And then working out who you are. And sometimes that takes a little bit of nutting out and a lot of reflection. And I think it's worth it in the end. I think really to come through that and then sort of design where you want to go in life and what you want life to look like, and start putting the steps in place in order for that to happen.
Oh, brilliant, Georgina. Round of applause to Georgina. Now, I just want to say a big thank you. A lot of our panelists have been tied up today, and they're going to be back next time. So this became a Simone Lord Georgina Orchard special, which is fantastic. So again, if you are listening, be it on Facebook, LinkedIn, or wherever or YouTube, please make sure you connect with Simone Lord and Georgina on especially LinkedIn. Please smash that like, sharing, comment, and stay tuned for next time. Make sure you connect with Lassie and also other panelists as well. So we're going to bid everyone a farewell for now. Simone Lord and Georgina Orchard, thank you so much, you two. Appreciate you winners.
Thanks so much, Ed. It's been a pleasure to be here with you all this morning.
Awesome. Stay awesome, friends. Take care and keep winning.
Thank you, Ed.